Oh, hello. Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are all doing out there. All of yeah, hi. Hello, hello. Hope you're all doing good out there. Got done with work not too ago. Shower was resting. Now I am yeah. Um today we are gonna be working on our RPG Maker game. If you guys missed the I'll show you the work that we got done, but we were really just working in engine and laying the groundwork for like what I kind of want my maps to look like. It had been a long time since I messed with RPG Maker like whatsoever, so I wasn't sure like how to do a lot of stuff. A little quiet. Let me move that a little bit. Yeah, I wasn't sure how to do a lot of stuff, so I had to relearn that, find my notes again. We got a little far. Hey Mimo, hey Zeb, hey Von Touchins. A little quiet. Hopefully I fixed that. I need to up some point. It's all right, but I do not understand why it's quiet. And I got a good perk combination for my weapon. Nice, nice. All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and go over to this screen, and we'll see what work I got done so far. So I've got the game open. I did make changes to the title, but we'll see it in a minute. You know what? Hold on. We're gonna see him now. So first off, this is just what we had done beforehand. We ended up coming in and we made like a couple simple maps. Big part of this story is gonna be told like throughout the house and whatever. Of these characters. Still going on this channel? Okay. Alright. So this is the master bedroom. It is very large. I always end up making my maps larger than I need to. Because like I'll see a tiny bit of screen here for like smaller maps and I'll be like, is that big enough? And then I'll get into the actual game and it's like, oh god. But yeah, we had the master bedroom, the spare room, and living room. Got our other character here, one of our other ones. And like I'm no good at exterior maps whatsoever. So I'm working from the inside out. You should know that. Right now. It's very simple. Very, very simple. I've got a lot of work I want to do on the outside for sure. But yeah, everything's a placeholder. Everything's whatever. But when we start up the game, make that larger. We do have some music going for that game. Let me make sure it's actually going here. It doesn't matter if the sound's going yet. All I have is like I've got some background music going for this, which is like whatever. It's just one of the themes slowed down to kind of be atmospherical. Let me move the window a little bit and increase that size. Let me minimize Game Maker. Okay. So getting into this, we got the little opening screen, which I just whipped up in Canva. Took some edits of pictures there. Alright. So we went to move around. Like an oh! I did not mean to click that fast. Yeah. So yeah. In the main room, we were gonna have cracks in the floor to kind of show that the house is like kind of crumbling apart. It has not been upkept whatsoever. This whole thing is about like a failing marriage. It's like a horror romance that focuses on a failing marriage and what this woman has to do, whether she's gonna save her husband from a terrible fate or start life with a new husband, who is not entirely human. Might disappear, been up for 21 hours. Oh man, I understand. I understand. But you know, we had all of this down, more cracks in the floor. We had the storeroom, which at some point I'd like to have some sort of like hiding mini game or something like that in here if we can work it out. There was gonna be a hole in the floor, kind of go deeper down into like wherever wherever her new romance came from. He's a creature from somewhere, but I might actually put something else in the wood for him, or tie it to something in the wood. Have that tunnel go all the way there, or something. I did want to make the fireplace a feature, which I still might. It just might not go all the way through the house. Yep, here he is. We could just walk over him for now. His picture's just there. He's not a functional NPC whatsoever. Their kitchen, I'm gonna definitely cut this all down to size to where the kitchen takes up like half the living room, but it's not gonna be very impressive. It's not gonna have a whole lot of stuff. Like I explained in the last like dev thing that I had, they're gonna be in disarray. They're not gonna have a whole lot of stuff whatsoever. The house is still in shambles. I'm gonna put like a lot more like dead tree, dead plant. There is a kitty over here. Oh yeah, I put a note on him. Just have cat walking around. Have cutscene where it runs from Davian, the male lead. Yeah, we have Davian and Lila. I was gonna name them like Lavanis as their last name, but I think I'm just gonna name them Burrows. Or Burrow. So Lila Burrow. Davian Burrow. But I did end up reworking the map. I learned how to parallax map a little bit. So instead of all of this basic stuff, we now have this for the master bedroom. You know, it's not perfect, but it's a start. But yeah, we've got this as the master bedroom. We've got shadows. You can actually like be concealed more with shadows. We can't walk over in this section yet because I still had to parallax. Or at least be able to like move the character like not just in the square bounds that they have. The light coming in through the windows can reflect off of her. There's also like a pane on the floor, so that can't be moved. There's shadows on the wall here. Kind of shadowy in the corners of the room there. And then, yeah, I don't know. I just put like a lot of work into it, and I'll show you the different layers on that. How's your week been going? My week's been going really good so far. It has been pretty good. Let's see. I did work on this for most of the weekend.
Woman.
And I've been like kind of just getting into this and dealing with like
Extra thick.
dealing with like Black Desert brain rot. Oh god, the bats! Zeranias, hello! Hello! Yeah, I've been dealing with Black Desert brain rot. Me and my hubby have been working on seasonal characters on there, and right now we're trying to get to like level 61, so we get like some really good weapons. So we've just been doing that, chilling. But yeah, this was the base map for the new master bedroom. I learned how to do parallaxing, with all of that. Return to FF14. I can't afford it. But yeah, this is the master bedroom, and this is like the base master bedroom. But the things that we ended up doing, so we have like the base layer. We're mostly gonna work on like the base layer today and getting all of our items together. Which these are all the items. We do have some lighting in there underneath and on top of the items. Not too many though. Just very simple. Then we had a lighting layer, which I think next time I'll take out the items and just do the whole thing. Which yeah, we airbrushed in. There's some more lighting there from the windows instead of just being on the floor. And then we also had the shadow layer. So really, we just have like 3 layers. When I get into this and like really parallax everything, there's gonna be 4, so we can actually go behind more stuff. Yeah, but all together, that is what it comes out looking like. So it is a big change. I had to go through so many like resizing things with this. I was working off of like a few different tutorials at the time. But I learned how to do it in Clip Studio, so I have total freedom of like where I put items, where I put tiles, where I put whatever, how to color, recolor, everything. So it's just been a good time. So yeah, we have the master bedroom, and we're gonna keep everything around this size. Today, we are going to work on the living room kitchen. So, this canvas, I learned, like, when you work with RPG Maker, the sizes that you have to deal with is, like, anything has to be divisible by 48. If you're working with, like, Clip Studio or, like, another art program. So, like, my maps in RPG Maker for this bedroom is 528 by 432. They had to divide that by 48, which ends up coming out to be 11 by 9 tiles in RPG Maker. So yeah, that way all the squares are in the right places. You're not running your character like halfsies through anything. I didn't realize that I'd set this grid differently when I started it, so I had to come back in here and resize a bunch of stuff, like on the map, on the shading, on the lighting, everything. But that's okay. The first build of the first chapter is definitely not going to be perfect. What I'm seeing so far with the game is I am probably going to take this, get chapter 1, build 1 done, and then just keep going with the build all the way through. And then if I have enough people that are interested, I'll go back and, like, remaster stuff. Or, you know, I might, like, set up a Patreon if it gets anywhere close to where I want it to be, to where I can have, like, other people come in and, like, stuff with it. Alright, so we called this a master bedroom. We'll call this, like, living room kitchen. I know you can't. I'm typing out here. But yeah, I'm going to make it 5.8 by 9, or not 9, Jesus Christ, 432. 9 would be, nothing. It'd be absolutely nothing at all. Alright, let me zoom this in. All can see the canvas enough. Alright, we definitely want to show the grid. And with the grid, you want to, when the menu pops up, it'll show you, like, the gap and number of divisions on this. The gap is 48. And the number of divisions is, like, it'd be 48 pixels per gap, and then number of divisions 1. I had it set to 2 the last time, so there were way more squares in this, and some of them were, like, halvesies and stuff, and that's what messed me up. That is absolutely messed me up. Okay. Now what I have to do, and to anybody out there that's, like, watching this, you can absolutely, like, set your ground floor down first, and then get into it. Oh, there we go. Now you can see my little window. I think I have part of this set up to just capture window. What am I looking for? No, I don't want tile sets in this one. I have everything separated so I can go into different things. Is this it? Okay, there we go. I can go into, like, whatever folders and find stuff without accidentally taking them out of the game, which I have to take as a precaution to myself. Then all I want are inside tiles that I want picking now. Going to these, and I am just gonna drag and drop them into Clip Studio. So now I have access to all of the tiles that are in RPG Maker. And because of that, I can clip and take whatever I want and lay it however I want. Mimo, Mimo, Mimo. Sammy, Sammy, Sammy. Hello, Sammy. Hello. How you doing, Sammy? How's it going? Let's see. I don't know why I keep losing my mouse. But yeah, I'm sure there's a better way to do this, especially, like, if you wanted to take your time and make a whole big sheet with all of these items just on it, so you could just scroll through it. Otherwise, this is just different canvases, and it'll automatically open them. You don't have to, like, make a bunch of canvases sized whatever. You just drag and drop them into your art program, and you'll be able to use them very easily. The reason I'm explaining all this is that eventually, like, or rather soon, eventually, I'm gonna be posting these videos onto YouTube, so I have, like, all my devlogs in one place. And I want to be able to show people how to do all of these things. Let's see. We kept this one open. We went with the herringbone. I might have to open up another inside tile, looks like. Unless they're here. Oh, wait, they are. Okay. I'm good. Happy my chickens are figuring out how to be chickens. That's good. That's always a plus. Yeah, and you don't have to be too precise on getting all these tiles. You know? Like, they could be off a little bit, but Control C, if you're in Clip Studio Paint or like a bunch of other art programs, it should be Control C. Then Control V. See, it just fits perfectly into this square. I want to say there's probably a way to have all the tiles like snap to the grid automatically, but I don't know if there is for sure. Have you been good? I have been good. I have been good. I've enjoyed my weekend. I've just kind of chilled. I worked on a parallax map for my game, which Sammy, since you just came in, let me open this up and show you. I have so many layers in OBS. Ridiculous. All right. So yeah, we redid the screen here. Redid that. And this is just like assets that I found on Canva. These are like available to like anybody. I took like a background, darkened it, put in some rain, put in like the little visionette thing towards the back. Atmosphere and music in the beginning, like we had before. And you remember my maps from before. They were okay. They were alright. They were really just the groundwork for what I wanted, so I'll definitely be looking back and seeing how I set these up and what my idea was. Yep, and then we had the outside, which is awful. I hate the outside so much. I hate the outside. I'm gonna have to figure out, like, a good size for the outside map. I'm gonna also have to figure out a good size for the storeroom. But, Sammy, that's all the basic groundwork that we had for RPG Maker, but I came back and I redid the master bedroom map. So now instead of this, it looks like this. It looks like this. And it's so good and spooky. I've got like 3 different layers going on. She's got like lights and stuff. The fairy lights are not in there. I had to figure out how to make the fairy lights go on. The fairy lights are just on my screen for streaming in general. Make that very clear. I still need to learn how to do that and put it in the background. But yeah, there's like shadows in the room that she can like kind of conceal herself in. We don't have anything set up for the stairs, but it does get darker as she goes down the stairs. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a good time. It's been a good time. So now we're just working with Clip Studio Paint and doing that. Hello, Wind. Hello, hello. How you doing? Hello. Parallax mapping, so good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I love parallax mapping. Like, I have not parallax yet. Like, I still need to cut whatever spots my character can walk behind and in front of. Like, she couldn't walk in front of the bed or behind that shelf, but everything else is all good. So I will come back to that and fix it. So good, Mimo. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to keep going on with that. Let's see. I'm really starting to worry that I might have to get like a new word, because this one, like, I'll go to type in like shortcuts and stuff and it just I'm like, no, please. Don't die on me, baby. Then, like I said earlier, I am going to be posting this onto YouTube so everybody can kind of chill and watch this and make their maps and stuff. If anybody is here on YouTube watching this, I hope that you can chill and vibe and maybe put on some music in the background over this, because I'm sure I'm not going to edit anything in. Just going to leave it quiet. So far, whenever I post VODs, I haven't really added anything to them. It's very rare that I make an effort, but also have the time to sit down and edit actual. It's becoming more apparent that it's just so difficult. I want to do. I know that won't copy the whole thing, but I just part of it. Alright, and I just want more square, I think. I think this will just get one. Okay. That's just gonna be our floor plan. The blah 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 blah. The background's gonna be like completely dark, and we'll go ahead and set that up right now so we can stop being blinded. Gonna name these real quick. BG color, floor tiles. I'm going to have to go, but I might be back. But if not, have fun, Mimo. We'll see you, Sammy. You have a good day, and thank you for stopping in. We'll see you. There is a map plugin, Orange Map Shot, that lets you take a screenshot of your map in engine and export it as a PNG. So you can make the base of oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I can't talk today. So you can make the base in RPG Maker editor and export it as a PNG. Saves a little bit of time. Yes, it absolutely does. And thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. I thought about doing it. I don't know why I didn't do it for this stream. I think I just have it in my head right now. Just like, get into Clip Studio. Do it. Make it. But you're absolutely right. Like, doing it in engine is so much quicker. You don't have to, like, copy and paste so much. Set things down, and it's so nice. You can get the shadows down a lot easier, too, because, like, it automatically, like, adds shading to, like, walls and stuff. What walls did we go last time? I do have our other one just, like, up for reference. Okay, we went with the weird walls with, like, stone bottoms and the wiggly lines. On this tile set, so we can actually close this one out, I think. We won't need this one. Bottom squiggly wigglies, there you are. Nice. Then you don't get as much control over each object like you do if you do everything in Clip Studio. It's true. Like, I would definitely, like you said, I definitely also recommend doing at least, like, the floor tiles and the walls, I think. If you don't want to put in as much work, just in. Yeah, this is a lot. But I don't mind it because I can just zone out and do stuff, but I will tell you that learning this right off the bat was definitely it's definitely something. It took me a long time to just sit down and go through a lot of this because I am a kind of person who I can't learn from just one person. I can't learn from just one person or one tutorial. Sometimes I can, but it's really rare that I can manage that. And it's just a little difficult. It's like when you're in school and you have a teacher and you're not doing very well in that class, but then you go to another teacher for tutoring or something and suddenly you get it. It's that. It's just that. That's just how I function. So I have to go to several people to learn how to do everything. It's especially hard because I need to be spoon-fed information about certain things. It's like, oh, okay, what canvas size do I need in this program or RPG Maker? And it'll take like forever for somebody to say it. So I'll be sitting there watching through the video, not doing anything. Like, I can't start until you say it. So true. A teacher makes a big difference. It really does. Like, I had I had a few bad teachers. Like it took forever for me to like learn whatever, but it felt like I was just like not taught well enough on like a lot of subjects. But then I got to like it took like my senior year of high school for like somebody to be like, "Oh, you don't understand this? Well, let me actually teach you. Are you understanding the material? Are you actually? Because we could sit down for longer until you know it." And it's like, well, I don't understand this concept. What do you mean we can take longer to learn? It's baffling. Let's see. Let's see. Oops. I could move the wall. That might be good. Put that. Whoops. I keep doing that on accident. Just like cutting the whole layer. It's like, oh, you want only that, right? And it's like, no, 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 no. Come back. Oh my gosh. Well, I still didn't understand physics. Physics be hard. Holder, hello. Physics is just real life magic. It's true. I understand some physics. Not enough. Just the basics. Like physics exists. That's what I know. Oh my gosh. So hi. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello. Had to teach myself a lot of school because of my migraines. Oh yeah, Von Touches, I'm sure that was. Yeah. I wish that I would have had like more space to learn at my. That's where I'm at. I think if I could have had a tutor or something or the time to do so, then it would have been fine. But I didn't. And it just made so many bad things so much worse. Um Physics exists. Done. I've done it. I've aced the class. I'm out of here. Sorry, my cat decided to sit in front of my board. What do you needed some attention? The smallest cat I've ever owned. I think he might be 10 pounds. Maybe. He's probably like 7. He's my skinny mini boy. My other cat's like 15 pounds. There's such a difference. But this little guy is the feistiest one in the whole. I need the walls. Walls! I got distracted by my key. Okay, and it. Like a 2. Keep giving these things weird little names. Oh, we're in an ad break. We're in an ad break. Anybody that's still here, thank you for being here. I gotta thank everybody else as well. I think I might have to open up another thing to find those, though. Don't see. Like the one thing, I just need, like, a document. Oh, wait. Vertical. I think it's. Yeah. Definitely. I didn't. I didn't think about that until just now. Anybody that might have been stuck in an ad break, I'm just trying to figure out what tile for the walls and stuff. I'd have to. I'd actually have to watch like a speed paint, figure out if these were. That's okay. Try me a. I definitely would have used the other ones. I see what happened. They're kind of blurred out because. Okay. Before coming in to watch the stream, I actually watched this video from Cinema Therapy, which if you guys haven't seen like any of those videos, you should on YouTube. It's just this licensed therapist and this movie director. They get together, they are friends, and they talk about movies that they have watched. Whoops, go that far. There we go. Yeah, they talk about movies that they've watched, and they don't really critique them. They kind of do, but in like a funny way. But it's mostly about giving therapy to like some of the characters in the movies, and it's really good. They covered Anastasia this time, and yeah, Anastasia is definitely one of my favorite animated movies, for sure. That's why it got weird. No, they stayed the same. Cropped it. Cropped it. I can't remember the last time I watched Anastasia. The music in Anastasia is amazing. Yeah, that's what they said too. It was just like the music in Anastasia is the best parts. I guess probably do something like this and then drag the map. Like I want to be able to finish this project at like a decent time and not have to dwell on it too much. At least chapter 1. After chapter 1 is done, then it's been a long time since I watched Anastasia. I was obsessed with it as a kid. I sang those songs so many times. Let's see. Apply transformation. What I'm gonna do really quick is just label. So I'm gonna. This is. They're all gonna be merged eventually. Back wall. Side walls. All at front walls. I think I saw it in theaters. Oh, that's lucky. That is so lucky. I watched so many things in VHS whenever they came out, which was fine, but it would have been so much cooler. Like, Once Upon a December is one of the coolest scenes. They were pointing out, like, a lot of animation stuff and just how cool it was just to see a lot of it done and why it looks the way that it does, because Anastasia looks really different than a lot of other movies. And it's a Don Bluth movie, which, like, makes sense why it would look different, but it's really different. Let's see. Do that one. Okay, we did cover it up. Okay. Doing the maps always, like, trips me up because I have to, like, I have to think about, like, how big it is, of course, like, what the space is gonna look like, but changing it back and forth, it's like, what? Well, that's why I, like, cut these, like, halfway as the side walls together, same layer. My minions, rest for your master. That phase is too catchy. Rasputin's song was ridiculous. And, like, looking back on it, you're just like, yeah, he's, like, talking through a lot of this. But then you get into it and you're like, oh my god. 27 years ago. That is ridiculous. What happens if you cut off the wooden wall diagonally at the top and left? And then back wall. I'd have to clean it up a bit, but yeah, it kind of make it really neat. Curious how that would look. Yeah. Like a nice little, like, rounded edge, so that'd be kind of glad that, like, lasso tool. I'm gonna take a note of that. I'm gonna keep it square for now, so mostly so I don't have to go back and edit the other. That's interesting. Sort of odd. Yeah, it's neat though. I think if I went around the corner with it, then it'd be cool. I'm gonna take a glad to see that, because in a future project, or, like, at some point, one of these projects, I could very well, like, round up edges. Ah. Oh no. Ooh. Okay, there we go. My polyline. Ah. One of those little things you don't think about doing. You're like, yeah, everything's gonna be a square. Whoops. Let's see, sidewall. Transformation. That's why I had that for. I seen it. I think yesterday I did like a lot of copy and pasting and moving. Wanted to get that first map down so I could come in here and like show off whatever to you guys. That all on side walls. Will be real. I don't know how long we're gonna be. I think today I'm gonna try to lay down these walls. We're gonna try to lay down like our general layout. Oh, thank you for the follow, Holder. That's so nice. Thank you for the follow. That's so nice. Thank you, thank you. I have toggles. I can give you like the heart eyes. Thank you. It's so nice. Cheers, me dear. Love it. Where's what? Side walls all together. Well, front wall. Cut off. We did. And honestly managed to get her character in the game and everything. That was the biggest thing today. Because like I done the lighting, shading, and like map. I'd done the whole thing. Then when I brought it into the game engine after like doing that several times to try to get it to like look good. Because for some reason like my shading and lighting was like off in the weirdest way. I had to go back and actually do more for it to look better. Um, but after I did all that, I had to figure out how to actually make the character move and the parallax and stuff, and it was really weird. The whole time that I've been messing with RPG Maker, I didn't know what that like what all the numbers were and like the fourth tab of the maps. This I didn't know what this was. So when I learned yesterday, I was like, "Oh, that's what that's for." Oh my gosh. Have a good night, Fun Touchins. Yes, have a good night, Fun Touchins. I'm glad that you're able to sleep. Go do that. Get some rest. Thank you for stopping in today. Let's see. I need to hop for now. I look forward to seeing the finished map. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wind. Thank you, thank you. I'm excited to. You have a good one too, and thank you for stopping in as well. Good to talk to you. Oh, then only rid of it. That's okay. That's alright. I said that as if it's not alright. Like, that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that only took part of it. I cancel that though, and combine mark front wall. Oops. Parallax mapping commissions by Mimo. I can feel it. Give me your idea. Give me your layout. Oh, do it. It is fun. It is fun to just, like, kind of lose yourself in this. That one. Figure out where the door goes. I just need to end all day. Since this is going to be a romance, I am feeling like talking about horror, and definitely want to go see this movie that's coming called Long Legs. He's home. Yeah, it is a horror. All the trailers have been really good for it. Everybody's hyping it up, and I really hope that it's good. If you like horror at all, go watch the trailers, because it's something. If you don't like horror, don't watch the trailers, because they're spooky. They are legitimate spooky. Oh wait, that's a back wall. Side walls? There we go. I was like, why aren't you deleting? What is going on? Ah! But yeah, I really want to watch that. Excited for it to come out on Friday, which is great when I get paid. Okay, let's see. So everything's in its own layer. Good. Let's see. That me. Oh, you got the little. My hubby's got my stuffed animal. You know what? We'll take out this back corner stairs. Actually, I wonder if there's like a way. Where are the stairs? Master bedroom. Did I end up using like actual stairs, or did I just use like a tile set? Hmm. Used like a normal tile set and made it look like steps. I'm like, what did I Ooh. I think I took these guys and I them sir. I guess that's a key tip for anybody doing anything in Game Maker. If you're gonna have an art program open at all, and doing this, make yourself a canvas with just all of your assets. I don't know why I never thought to do that with this, because like I do that with Canva whenever I'm messing with stuff in there. I do it every single time that I do any scheduling or anything like that. Like, I am going to be able to find this. And then I was gonna say I don't know how we're gonna get our color work in, but how we're gonna do that. I am just gonna bring in the other map and we're just gonna go blah, 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 blah. We're gonna try to color grade whatever we can. That's fine there. We're going to copy and have a second depth there. Then okay. Base. Stairs. Very straightforward. Then for now, I am just gonna copy and paste these bad boys. Because I might not need anything. Yeah, eventually, like, don't worry about anything outside of yours. You can always come in and just cut whenever. Clean that up. Okay, so there's all the stairs. We wanted that to be set up over here in the top left corner. But I also wanted some of the wall to be out. So this. It's like another reason to just have these done within this. So you can just set everything up, see how all. This is fun. I know how to do it. It's a good reference. Okay. Oops. Pasted that. That there. Spider. I could. We'll just leave it there on the floor. Trying to decide how big I want the kitchen. Yeah, I could have the wall come out. I know now. Make it come out, then over just a bit like an L. Okay, how do I want you to look? Taking up a weird part of the top. Go ahead and cut this. No, actually, we'll take the rest of it. It's like another benefit of like stamp all the tiles. Make them into either way. Oh, there's no wrong way to do this. There's just a way that works for you and you find easier. Spider wall. Buy a half. Let's see. I have the kitchen stuff here. A little hidden, which and without the grid, like it looks like it's divided and stuff, but if you take off the grid every now and again, you'll see how everything merges. And you can definitely change like the color of the grid and stuff in Clip Studio Paint. Google it. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I've never changed it. I saw an explanation on how to do it, but it's not in my head right now. Not after working for 6 hours. Not even like a bad number, but I just get so so after 6 hours, I'm like, what? Oh, I need the grid back. I was like, what's missing? Like, do you think perhaps it's the grid that you just shut off? Maybe. And I do like how those tiles look here, too. I think we do with this. We could put the fireplace in front of this, honestly. We can have this weird fireplace thing going on. Sit in front of here, go into the wall, and go upwards. Or outwards, yeah. Right click layer, new correction layer, gradient map. That's what I use. I haven't tried that yet. I went like piece by piece after I did like or as I did my recoloring, sorry. Ugh. Gosh. Let's see, but I do that for over grayscale layer. Oh, okay. I haven't messed with them. I messed a little bit with the filters, but I haven't done any correction layer, gradient map, or anything yet. And that's just across the board with everything, art-wise. I normally like draw a bunch with Clip Studio Paint, but I haven't like done anything big with rendering. So I haven't. I should anything big. I should say anything big or anything basic. Let's see. It's been all new learning for me. Yep. Yeah, I learned a lot of stuff just learning, trying to do these maps. Can't talk today. Tired. Sorry, I didn't mean to drink in the mic. Got my little slushy. Elastic. Okay, I know for sure that I won't need any of this right away. Well, that way. For a and I missed the tiles, but I wouldn't have been surprised if you looks like I'm gonna sick. Oh god, this folder's so huge. Go away a little. Hold on. Oh gosh, why are there two? No! That's fine. Fireplaces. Your plump programs. Yep, my plump program. Yeah, so I had my husband ended up putting like a label on my stuff so I could just like shove whatever extra stuff onto like my bigger D drive or whatever. Whatever it's called. I can't think. Ah. It's great. And open, I guess. Hold on, I'm looking through the tile sets right now. I don't know why that window isn't popping up. Everything else is. Uh, brown. Going one. That I took your asset and put those together. For now. Exit out of my plump program. I think I have like a terabyte? Terabyte. That's where all the plump programs go, so it doesn't take up either space anywhere else. At least I try not to use whatever too much. Sometimes I end up downloading I'll end up downloading an installer for the game, and it'll be like, sorry, you can't actually put that program there. It has to be on this other drive. And it's like, I put this for a reason. Yeah, let's open up. Okay, hold on. Here's all my bookshelves. Here's the fireplace. Stuff. Supposedly. Prop something. Wait, it's above the curtains. Ugh. That drove me crazy. Why do they I don't understand how I didn't see it. Ugh, that drove me nuts. Alright, hold on. Let me get another thing open. Okay, good. There's no ads. I've just got, like, music going on now. Lo-fi playlists. Pop. Paste. Better make a new items folder. Right in there. Actually. That part. Definitely go in here and pixel by pixel put stuff. But if you have miss a shadow. Then the rest of this. Divider wall, divider wall, divider wall. Good. Yes. Then we're gonna make a folder. Make our items folder. Fireplace. Everything. Do like background slash and we'll just move this all into one folder so we don't have to look at it. We might have to do something with it later, but there's no reason to have it all out in that big cluster off to the side. Now I have it all in one folder and I don't have to look at anything. Alright. Shadow that I missed here. Kind of blend these. Take the easy man's way out and just copy paste. There we go. So, alright, looks a little weird, but we can definitely put an item on top of there. Smooth it out a bit, or come back and, like, actually fix it. Whenever you have to edit pixel art, it's To me, editing pixel art is a lot easier than like making it. I am not used to it by hand whatsoever. Let's see. Go back to our master bedroom. Because we do have the windows. I'm gonna copy. Oh my goodness, a follow! Thank you, 10. Thank you. That's so nice. Thank you, and hello. Let's see, we can make these smaller. Yeah! And we'll make sure to like put, I think what I'll do is put a border up top. Goes up right against the border. Ah. Hope you're doing good, 10. Hope you're doing chilling, making this map. I'm really just moving around assets and thing. Take the glass pane. Yep. No, I should have both. I should have just like absolutely copied and pasted. But that's okay. Figure it out for one, and then we'll figure it out. Really silly. Yeah, supply transfer. I made a mistake. Delete. Able to, yeah. Oh, perfect. Perfect. That's what I. No, don't move just one. I took you both here for a purpose. Doing all this just makes me think back to like my MS Paint days where like you didn't have layers, you didn't have anything, you were just going. I was never very good with MS Paint. So being able to have all these tools, I'm like, it makes me so happy I could cry. So new. Oh, let's see. So yeah, we're gonna definitely keep the windows on their own. And we're gonna keep the glass panes on their own too. We're not gonna merge them whatsoever. Eventually I want daytime stuff done. Be in bed. Well, it's only like 7. It's only 7. I mean, you're right. You're right, I should. I'll be real. Oh, you're saying it a holder. Holder, what are you doing? I should not. No, I had to work so early in the trying to get this kitchen done. Past his bedtime. Wah. Betty buys. We'll take this. I want to make it so after this like horrible night, main character comes down and sees that this stranger, this strange husband-shaped stranger, has kind of restocked the kitchen. Stuff done. Probably change it. Just pile it up. Nah, we'll get rid of that last one. That's too much. That's too much. Tired 1 a.m. eyes sketching a costume. I see. I see. Holder. I'll leave it here, and as a time reminder, thank you. I'll post what I've been doing. Nice. Nice. Let's see. Oh, I try to crack my neck there. Let's see. What else do we want? Is there a stove? There is a stove. Steel? Yeah. Take the... Ape? Este? One can actually. Almost tile. Like halfway. Probably. I want the tiles for save that. Kind of table. I have like one good table in the house. Table's gonna be really weird. That I guess we could do it center. Let's see. On that right. Alright, then we'll put it smack dab in a tile. I think the more important thing is that we actually managed to like get into the tile and then also maybe set some stuff onto it, because that's one thing I hate in RPG Maker. The fact that like I can't put items on top of tiles that well, and it's like, yeah, duh, we're parallaxing, but I mean like you can't put like a plate of food on a table and have it look good. It's just like falling off and stuff. It's like, why? Why is it like this? Why would you make it this way? Okay, I gotta sleep. All right, Holder, you sleeps. You sleeps, but thank you for coming in today and chilling with me as I did stuff. Let's see, we'll call this pots, and I think... Oh, I left that there. Let's just merge that down with the other pots. Catch you again. Good luck with the devs. Thank you very much, Holder. You have a wonderful night. It'll all be pots. There we go. I like that adding another pot down added a better shadow to that one. Like, okay, okay. We need... Kinda hot. Kinda hide the both of them. There are gonna be two. I don't know, maybe I should... duplicate. I think that's good. See, I am gonna keep those separate, just in case I want to move their L. There are. At the table, perfect. What else did I have on? I actually had food on the table. Fix that, and I also had these things up here. We also had curtains over the windows. Maybe I'll just like make a pile of clothes somewhere. Maybe. Be like, yeah, he tore those curtains down, girl. He was done with those. He was like, I don't think so. This does not make sense. Probably. Yeah. We probably cut this. Do a recolor. I'm gonna put it in. I don't know if it's gonna work. So different. What I'm in place, but I think it'll be fine for now. Plus, it like goes well with the stove. We'll make it work. If anybody hears my dog crying in the background, to anybody new, he does that all the time. He's just a crier. He's just a crybaby. I can tell him that it's raining and he'll just start whining. Halloween is the worst. I'll be like, Hank, Halloween. Kids are gonna come up to the door. They're gonna ask for candy and he'll just, I think it's gonna be alright. Get through this. Put food on the table. See, we already have a clock upstairs, so we don't upstairs. We'll put painting up though. I think we'll get that little bit of decor in. Won't have too much though. Will not have too much at all. This will just be maybe a painting the wife did at some point of just the mountain nearby or something. Something like yeah, we'll put like a sack of grain in the kitchen as well. Got like 2 barrels of something, sack of grain. Already cooked something up. Ugh, I'm getting hungry making the kitchen. Gonna make dinner soon. A huge bag of grain. Got a little smaller. Yeah, that'll be fine right over there. That's an okay size for what it is. Actually, let's make it over here a bit. We'll make it a little. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of want to take up that tile. So actually, we'll figure out how to parallax. Fine right there. Right. Thing that I want to put up before I go. Think. Food on the table. Well, two things. Food on the table and then the I'm right on the stairs, so the wife can. Copy and paste this too, as if you went like crazy buying stuff at the market. Yeah, for better. That's perfect. On the table. What do I want to feed you? What to feed you with, girl? A whole pizza? A whole pig? Yeah, you wake up, you find someone in the kitchen who's not your husband, but close. And he's made you an entire pig. No, we'll get whatever this is. This little omelet. Got a little staple. Then have some omelet. Glass of something. Say this frothy glass is cider. Could be something else, that's fine. Ever see. And so omelet, drink, table, labeling everything really quick. I guess that can just stay together. There's an ad break going on for anybody that is in and having to experience ad breaks. Thank you for sticking around with me as I do this. Pots, pan, or no, wait. Pans, knives, garlic, meats. Painting that out. Oh, let's see. Okay, I can't remember what else we ended up setting up. It's like a ripped document on the wall. I think that's the only thing besides like whatever on the floor. A rug in front of the fire we could put. I have like the rugs thing. I don't need this anymore. Do not. Never needed this open, or this, as it turned out. Alright, I guess I'll just make a note. That is what I'm gonna do for now. Rug by fireplace. That is what I will put down. Okay. Save. Alright. Well, this is what we got done today. We just made the base of our map. Still not complete. I'm probably gonna come in and add more stuff. I'm just gonna save it right now to my folders. I have a specific folder where I put Clip Studio files for this. Yeah, so far we have to like fix up whatever. Make this dividing wall maybe a little more attractive, like right in the center. We're gonna add in our lighting and shading. Yep, I'm using Clip Studio to input all of this. Does you draw? I do draw. It's been a while since I've drawn anything, but I do draw. What do I have that I can show? Hold on. Open this. Oh, let's see what I got. I have a sketchbook. Hey, hold on. I have a more fun way to do this. Hold on. The other week or so, I ended up drawing up a PNG tuber model. If I can get her up. There she is. Yeah, ended up drawing up PNG tuber model. Got like a few different expressions. Like neutral. Blanks. He gets angry. Oh, I can't do too much or else I'll like flip between different outfits. We're all set up on the same thing. Just stick with this outfit for now. But yeah. She's a cutie. But that's kind of like my art style and what I stick with. We'll wear this outfit for Actually, is this my 9 button? There we go. My PNG tuber is stupid. Oh no! Why? Why? But I love it. That's great. Oh, but yeah. Yeah, this is what we have so far in this stream. Hope you guys all had fun watching as I did this. Obviously, we need to add the shadows and the lighting and stuff, but I am going to probably do that off a stream. At some point, I'll have a map ready. I think the next time that we can do more parallax stuff with, like we can actually like input it and things like that. But after I add a bit more and add a place for the door, which I'm gonna make a note of right now. Put indoor. I should take that Drake and Josh scene where they're like stuck in the treehouse. Just look at my characters, just like, hey Davian, yeah? Where's the door? Yeah, I'll go over to the just chatting screen right now. Yeah. Hopefully you guys had fun with me as I did that little bit of map making. Kind of a short stream. I normally stick around for a little longer, but I am tired and it is time for me to go and cook something. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping in. Thank you, Ten. I hope you have a good day too. Again, thank you for everybody that stopped in and just chilled with me and vibed and stuff. The next time I come in, we will be playing some more Sword of Convallaria. That will be on, let me just double check my schedule, Friday. It'll be Friday night at like 7 p.m. for me, so around this time, like 30 minutes back. Or 30 minutes earlier. That's when we'll be playing. And then for anybody that's just coming in to like YouTube or whatever, it's all my times are for Central, like GMT -5, whatever. But yeah, we'll be playing that, and it'll be a good time. So yeah, until next time, guys, thank you again. Have a good night, day, and afternoon, and I will see you on the next stream. Bye!